A sudden announcement from Kensington Palace sends shockwaves through England. William and Kate aren't just calling for compassion, they're challenging royal tradition, even the throne itself. The Diana initiative ignites like wildfire, leaving Charles and Camilla on the defensive. But this is no mere family feud. It's a silent war between the past and the future, between the crown and the hearts of the people. And the outcome, it might be one no one expects. A light drizzle falls on London's cobblestone streets, draping the city in a thin veil, as if the sky itself is holding its breath. In cozy homes across England, life hums along as usual, steaming cups of tea, radios, muttering about the weather and idle chatter about soccer or fashion. But at noon that day, a terse message from the royal family brings the nation to a halt. There will be an official statement at 6 p.m. No explanation, no hints. The message broadcast from the royal family's official accounts across all platforms offers nothing more. No press leaks, no insider whispers, not even a murmur from those closest to the palace. In a world where every secret seems to have a price, this silence is unnerving. It plunges England from the humble pubs of Manchester to the sleek offices of Westminster into a state of anxious anticipation. At the Times newsroom, reporters crowd around a conference table, phones buzzing relentlessly, laptops open to dozens of tabs. "What the hell is this?" an editor barks, his voice cracking with frustration. "The royals don't do this. Ever." A young reporter fresh on the job dares to speculate. What if it's abdication? The room falls silent, then erupts in awkward laughter. "Don't be ridiculous," the editor snaps, but a flicker of doubt glints in his eyes. Meanwhile, at Clarence House, the air is heavy as lead. Camilla the Queen sits in her private study, her gaze fixed on her laptop screen. The brief announcement, though, only a few words, sends a chill down her spine. She's lived long enough in the palace to know that silence is never meaningless. It's a weapon, a strategy, a sign of something far greater. What unnerves her most is that she wasn't informed. No call from Charles, no whisper from the advisors, just silence, and it's suffocating her. She reaches for her teacup, but her hand trembles slightly, making the fine china clink against the saucer. "What are they up to?" she mutters, her voice so low, only she can hear it. Her eyes drift to a family portrait on the wall. Charles, William, Harry, and herself standing slightly off to the side, as if she's forever an outsider. The feeling, though familiar, still stings her heart. Not far away at Kensington Palace, the mood is entirely different. In a small, cozy room, soft golden light from a chandelier spills onto a Persian rug. William and Kate sit across from each other in armchairs, a small wooden table between them, holding a thick stack of documents, a few handwritten notes, and 2 cold cups of coffee. Neither speaks. There's no need. They've been preparing for this moment for months, perhaps years. Kate watches her husband quietly. William's face, though still composed with the calm of a man trained to face the world, betrays a hint of tension. His lips are pressed tight, and his thumb absent-mindedly rubs the edge of the table, a small habit Kate alone notices when he's anxious. She reaches out, resting her hand gently on his. "We're ready," she says, her voice low but steady. William looks up, his eyes meeting hers. In that moment, there's no crown, no palace, no world waiting outside. Just 2 people, their hearts beating in sync, carrying the weight of history and expectation. "Are you sure?" he asks, his voice hoarse. "After tonight, everything changes." Kate smiles, a gentle but resolute smile. "Everything changed a long time ago, Will. We're just doing what's right." William nods, but deep inside, he feels a tidal wave building. He knows tonight's announcement is more than a statement. It's a challenge to tradition, to the palace, and perhaps to his own family, to his father, to Camilla, and maybe even to the shadow of his mother, the woman the world still calls the People's Queen. Outside, Big Ben chimes steadily. 5 o'clock, 1 hour left until the truth is revealed to England. But in this room and in the cold corridors of Clarence House, the storm is already brewing. At precisely 6 o'clock, as the sunset fades behind London's ancient domes, England seems to hold its breath. From modest flats in the suburbs to crowded pubs in Soho, every eye is glued to a screen. But at Kensington Palace, there's no pomp or circumstance. No grand ceremonies, no guards in scarlet uniforms. No King Charles with a regal crown. Just William and Kate standing side by side in a simple room, the light from a window casting a glow on their faces, creating a scene both intimate and powerful. The room chosen for the announcement isn't the palace's opulent grand hall, but a small study, once a favorite retreat of Princess Diana. Oak bookshelves dusted with time line the walls. A worn armchair sits by the fireplace, and a faded portrait of a long-ago king hangs above. The space feels almost at odds with the extravagance typically associated with the monarchy. Yet it's this simplicity that makes the moment stand out. It's a quiet declaration. This isn't a story of crowns. It's a story of humanity. William steps forward, his tall frame free of the stiffness of a trained prince. He wears a navy suit, no tie, his shirt collar open as if to dismantle any barrier between him and those listening. Kate stands beside him in a pale blue silk dress, the color his mother once loved. They don't hold hands, but the harmony in their gazes speaks volumes. Ladies and gentlemen, William begins, his voice deep and clear, resonating through millions of speakers across the nation. Tonight we stand here not as heirs to the throne, but as people with a responsibility to our country, to our people, and to the values we all share. The nation listens, but in that room, Kate feels her heartbeat quicken. She knows these words are more than a speech. They're a defiance, a break from the unspoken rules of the palace. She glances at William, and in that moment she sees Diana not in his features, but in the fierce resolve burning in his eyes. William continues, his tone growing richer. We live in an age where trust in institutions is faltering, but trust doesn't come from titles, from crowns, or from the cold stone walls of palaces. Trust comes from action, from compassion, from the willingness to stand up for those who have no voice. It's Kate's turn. She steps forward, her voice soft, but carrying an undeniable strength. Over 30 years ago, a woman changed how the world saw the monarchy. She wasn't just a princess, she was a mother, a friend, a fighter for what was right. Her name was Diana. The name, though spoken countless times in the hearts of the British people, still brings the room and the nation to a pause. Kate lets the silence do its work for a moment before continuing, her voice trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the emotions swelling within her. Today we are proud to announce the Diana Initiative, a global effort to support the most vulnerable in our society, children who've lost parents, women enduring abuse, and communities forgotten by the world. This isn't an empty promise. This is our commitment to you and to her legacy. From pubs to living rooms, applause begins to ripple, scattered at first, then spreading like wildfire. But in that small room, William and Kate don't hear the clapping. They only look at each other, their eyes reflecting a shared understanding. They've just opened a door that can't be closed. Hours later, in a quiet room at Kensington, William and Kate sit together, the air between them still heavy. The cameras are off, but the pressure lingers. Kate rubs her forehead as if trying to ward off a headache. "Do you think we've gone too far?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. William looks at his wife, her eyes gentle yet resolute. "We haven't gone too far, Kate. We're on the right path. My mother, she would have wanted this." Kate nods, but a flicker of unease stirs within her. She knows that from tonight, all eyes will be on them, not just the public's, but the palace's. And she knows somewhere in the cold corridors of Clarence House, another storm is brewing. The rain has stopped, leaving London shrouded in thick fog, as if the city is trying to hide its secrets. But within the cold stone walls of Clarence House, no fog is dense enough to soothe the storm simmering inside. Charles sits in a red velvet armchair, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. The king, once expected to bring stability to the throne after his mother's long reign, now looks like a man trapped between two worlds. His gaze drifts to an antique clock on the mantel, its hands ticking slowly, but he doesn't truly see the time. In his mind, the words of William and Kate echo sharp as a blade. The Diana Initiative. The name his first wife's, the woman the world still adores, has become a painful reminder of his own failures. "What have they done?" Charles mutters, his voice hoarse, as if the question is meant for no one but himself. But Camilla, standing a few steps away, hears every word. She doesn't turn, her eyes fixed on a landscape painting on the wall, a field of wheat under a blue sky, an image of peace she wishes she could escape into. She doesn't respond immediately. Instead, she takes a deep breath, trying to quell the anger burning in her chest. Camilla isn't one to be swayed by emotion. She's endured years of public hatred, branded as the other woman, constantly compared to Diana. She's learned to hide pain behind a smile, to mask insecurity with sharp words. But tonight, hearing Kate utter Diana's name with near-sacred reverence, something inside her shattered. "They've declared war," Camilla finally says, her voice low and icy, as if speaking to the painting itself. "Not just on us, Charles, on everything we've built." Charles frowns, turning to his wife. "War, Camilla, don't be dramatic. They just announced a charity initiative. William and Kate always do things like this." Camilla turns her eyes, cutting like a knife. "A charity initiative named after Diana announced without your approval, without our involvement. Do you really think this is just an innocent act?" She steps closer, her voice dropping, but heavy with weight. "They've chosen to side with the public, Charles. And to the public, Diana will always be the queen, while we're just placeholders." Camilla's words hit like a hammer, leaving Charles speechless. He wants to argue, to say she's exaggerating, that William and Kate don't mean to challenge him. But deep down, he knows she's right. He saw William's eyes on the screen, not the eyes of a son seeking his father's permission, but of a man who's chosen his own path. And Kate, with her calm resolve, reminded him of Diana in a way that cut deep. The door swings open, interrupting Charles's thoughts. Sir Edward, his longtime advisor, steps in, clutching a thin stack of documents. His face, usually a mask of calm, honed by years of handling crises, now betrays clear worry. Your Majesty, he bows, his voice cautious. "I'm afraid we need to discuss this now." Charles motions for him to sit. "Speak, Edward. What's happening?" Sir Edward sets the documents on the table but doesn't open them. Instead, he clears his throat as if searching for the right words. "The public's reaction, it's beyond what we expected. Social media is exploding. They're calling the Princess of Wales the People's Queen." He pauses, glancing at Camilla, then continues. "Not Princess Diana, Your Majesty, Princess Catherine." Camilla lets out a dry, bitter laugh, short and sharp. "Really, they've handed Diana's crown to Kate in a single night?" She turns away, her hands clenching into fists. Ridiculous. But Charles doesn't laugh. A cold shiver runs down his spine. In the press, he asks, his voice quieter. Sir Edward flips a page in the documents, but his eyes stay on Charles. "They're raving, Your Majesty. The Guardian calls it a generation-defining moment." The Sun is bolder, saying it's a call for royal reform. But the concerning part, he hesitates, then presses on. "No one mentions you. Not a single article acknowledges your role in this initiative." Sir Edward's words land like a stone in still water, sending ripples through the room. Charles feels his chest tighten. He spent his life building his image, a devoted king, a model father, a leader who listens. But now, in a moment when the nation should be looking to him, they see only William, Kate, and Diana's shadow. Camilla, unable to bear the silence any longer, steps to the table. "We need to take control of this," she says, her voice now carrying a rare intensity. "This initiative must be brought under the palace's framework. If we don't, it'll become a runaway horse and we'll be the ones trampled." Sir Edward nods, but his eyes are wary. "I agree, Your Majesty, but I fear it won't be easy. The Prince and Princess of Wales have planned this carefully. They have their own media team and the public is on their side. Any move we make, if not handled delicately, could be seen as confrontational." "Confrontational," Charles echoes, his voice sharp. "They're my son and daughter-in-law, Edward. This is family, not a battlefield." Sir Edward bows his head, but Camilla can't hide the faint smile on her lips. "Family, Charles," she says, her voice soft, but cutting like a blade. "Families don't act behind each other's backs. Families don't erect a monument to Diana without consulting you. This isn't family, this is politics." Charles looks at his wife, and for the first time that night, he feels an unbridgeable distance between them. He wants to say something, to defend William, to believe it's all a misunderstanding. But deep down, he knows Camilla isn't wrong, and that makes his heart heavier than ever. The morning after the historic announcement at Kensington Palace, London, wakes to an unusual buzz. The streets hum with activity, but there's an undercurrent of excitement in every cafe corner, every bus stop conversation. From phone screens to morning papers, The Diana initiative is everywhere, accompanied by images of William and Kate standing in their modest study, their eyes brimming with resolve. But while the media fixates on the palace awaiting the next statement, Kate chooses a different path, one no cameras or reporters are invited to follow. At a small counseling center in East London, where peeling walls and the scent of old paint mingle with cheap coffee, Kate steps inside unannounced. She wears a simple gray sweater, jeans, and white sneakers, her hair tied back neatly. No entourage of security, no gleaming Range Rovers. Just a trusted aide and an advisor from the Diana Initiative, both instructed to keep their distance so she can blend into the space. Helen, the center's manager, can hardly believe her eyes when she recognizes the visitor. Princess of Wales, she stammers, clutching her chest as if afraid her heart might stop. We weren't told. I'm sorry, it's a bit messy here. Kate smiles, a warm, practiced smile that melts away distance. It's fine, Helen. I'm not here to inspect. I'm here to listen. And she does just that. In a small room with plastic chairs arranged in a circle, Kate sits among a group of teenagers, kids life has taken too much from parents' homes, or simply faith in tomorrow. She doesn't speak much, doesn't try to steer the conversation. She listens, her eyes gentle but never pitying. When a 15-year-old girl with dyed green hair and defiant eyes shares her story of being abandoned by her family, Kate nods softly as if she understands, as if she's felt that pain herself. She's like, our mom was another boy, whispers, his voice so faint it's barely audible. But Kate hears. She pauses, her eyes briefly misting, but she quickly regains her composure. I can't replace your mom's, she says, her voice soft but firm. But I promise I'll do everything I can to make sure you don't feel alone. Her words, though unrecorded by cameras, spread. The kids tell their friends, friends tell their families, and soon the story of Kate's surprise visit weaves through London's poorest alleys. No headlines, no official photos, but its authenticity touches the public's heart. That afternoon, Kate continues her journey at a shelter for abused women on the city's outskirts. She sits with women whose faces bear the weight of hardship, listening as they recount long nights of escape scars, not just on their bodies but in their souls. She doesn't promise miracles or paint unrealistic dreams. She simply says, you're not alone. We'll help step by step. When one woman breaks down and hugs her, Kate hugs back without hesitation, as if they're friends, not a princess and a commoner. The afternoon at Clarence's house carries an odd lethargy, as if even the sunlight streaming through the tall windows can't dispel the heavy atmosphere within the palace. In the main meeting room with its oak-paneled walls and thick Persian rugs, a long mahogany table dominates the space. Charles sits at its head, hands clasped tightly, his gaze pensive but sharp, like a man bracing for a battle he doesn't want. Camilla sits to his right in a silver-gray silk blazer, her face composed, but her eyes betraying fierce determination. Across from them is William, his tall frame clad in a navy suit with no tie, his expression cold but unable to mask a hint of unease. The meeting was called to discuss the Diana Initiative, but no one in the room is naive enough to believe this will be a friendly chat. No advisors, no secretaries taking notes, just three people, a king, a queen, and a prince, facing off in a stifling space where every word could be a spark. Camilla breaks the silence. She leans forward, hands resting lightly on the table, her voice smooth but carrying an undeniable weight. William, she begins, we all appreciate what you and Catherine are doing with the Diana Initiative. It's truly inspiring, but we need to ensure this initiative aligns with the broader interests of the monarchy. I propose bringing it under the palace's direct oversight, managed by senior advisors. Her words, though cloaked in courtesy, cut like a blade. William feels his chest tighten, but he keeps his emotions in check. He glances at his father, hoping for a sign of dissent, but Charles sits silently, his eyes fixed on the table, as if avoiding his son's gaze. Oversight. William repeats, his voice low and steady, but laced with a chill that tightens the room's tension. You mean control, don't you? Camilla offers a faint smile, one that doesn't reach her eyes. You misunderstand me, William. The monarchy is a unified entity. A major initiative like this, bearing your mother's name, needs careful management to avoid any risks for you, for Catherine, for all of us. William clenches his fists under the table, his nails digging into his palms. He knows Camilla isn't saying it outright, but her intent is clear. The Diana Initiative is a threat not for its goals, but for the power it gives him and Kate. It's a reminder that in the public's eyes, they, not Charles or Camilla, are shaping the monarchy's future. Charles finally speaks, his voice low and weary, but with a rare firmness. William Narfron agree with Camilla. This initiative needs to be under the monarchy's management. Not because I doubt your intentions, but because we must ensure everything is done properly. The monarchy cannot be divided, cannot have separate empires. Charles's words hit like a sledgehammer, crushing the last shred of hope in William's heart. He looks at his father, a flicker of pain in his eyes before it's replaced by resolve. He'd hoped his father would stand by him, would see that the Diana Initiative isn't a power play, but a promise to his mother, to the public, to himself. But now he realizes Charles has chosen Camilla tradition and the cold stone walls of the palace. William takes a deep breath, his gaze shifting from Charles to Camilla, then back to his father. When he speaks, his voice is cold and sharp like a sword drawn from its sheath. This isn't an invitation for opinions, Father, ma'am. This is a strategy. Kate and I have planned the Diana Initiative for years, and we won't let it become a tool of the palace. If the monarchy wants to join us, we welcome it. But if not, we'll move forward with or without your approval. William's words land like a stone in still water, sending ripples through the room. Camilla's brow furrows, her lips tightening, but she doesn't respond immediately. Instead, she looks to Charles as if waiting for his reaction. But Charles just sits there, his hands trembling slightly, his gaze distant, as if watching an unhealable rift form before his eyes. William Charles finally says, his voice hoarse, almost pleading, "You're tearing this family apart." Do you realize that William stands, his tall frame unyielding? He looks at his father, and in that moment, he doesn't see a king, but a man caught between past and present. Family isn't built on control, Father. He says, his voice low but powerful. Family is built on trust, and if you don't trust me, perhaps you're the one tearing us apart. Without waiting for a response, William turns and strides out of the room, his footsteps echoing on the wooden floor, resolute and unyielding. The door closes behind him, leaving Charles and Camilla in a suffocating silence. Camilla turns to Charles, her eyes icy. "See," she says, her voice soft but dripping with bitterness. "I told you, they don't just want an initiative, they want the throne." Charles doesn't reply. He bows his head, his hands gripping the armrests, as if trying to hold on to something slipping away. But deep down, he knows the rift William just left behind isn't just between father and son, it's between the monarchy's past and its future. And he wonders if he has the strength to mend it, or if he's merely watching the collapse of the dynasty he swore to protect. Outside in London's fading sunset, the Diana Initiative continues to win hearts. But in the cold corridors of Clarence House, there's only silence. A silence heavy with foreboding, like the whisper of a storm on the horizon. London, bathed in the rare sunlight of a summer day, seems to pulse with a new rhythm. Cobblestone streets, small cafes, and phone screens across England are flooded with images of William and Kate, not in lavish ceremonial garb or under chandeliers at banquets, but in moments so relatable they feel within reach. A photo of Kate sitting cross-legged on the floor, chatting with kids at a community center. A video of William's sleeves rolled up, handing out food at a food bank. And above all, the hashtag Diana Initiative, like a wildfire, spreads across platforms, carrying millions of praises, shares, and personal stories of how the initiative has touched lives. The public, weary of the monarchy's cold rituals and distant speeches, is turning away from that traditional image. They no longer want lavish parades or vague promises from the palace. They want action, emotion, a monarchy that bends down to listen. And William and Kate, with the Diana Initiative, are giving them exactly that. At an international charity conference in Westminster, major organizations, from Save the Children to Women's Support Funds, begin citing the Diana Initiative as a new model. They're not just donating money, a fund director says in a speech, her voice brimming with inspiration. They're building trust, one story at a time. Young people especially are captivated. Universities host discussions about the initiative, student volunteer groups sign up in droves, and on social media posts from youths calling William and Kate our royals grow more frequent. Even within the monarchy itself, ripples of change are stirring. Younger members, distant cousins of William, princesses and princes, long overshadowed by tradition, start reaching out to the Diana Initiative. A few quietly contact William and Kate's team, expressing a desire to get involved. "We want to do something meaningful," a young princess writes in an email to Kate, her words filled with longing. "Like what you and William are doing. There's no official statement, no grand announcement, but everyone feels it. The center of power in the monarchy is shifting. Not through laws or decrees, but through quiet actions, through hearts being one." William and Kate, though not seeking the throne, are becoming symbols of a new future, one where the monarchy isn't a distant luxury, but a force for change. At Clarence's house, the mood is starkly different. Charles stands in his private study, his gaze fixed on the crown resting on an intricately carved wooden stand. The crown, a symbol of power and duty, feels heavier than ever. He's worn it at ceremonies, felt its weight on his head, but today it presses down on his very heart. He's read the reports, seen the numbers. Support for the Diana Initiative is skyrocketing, donations are pouring in, and the love for William and Kate has reached unprecedented heights. But what hurts isn't his son's success, it's his own silence in the story. Not one article mentions him, not one tweet praises his role. He, the king of the realm, feels like he's fading into obscurity. Charles touches the crown lightly, his fingers trembling. "What have I done wrong?" he murmurs, his voice so soft only he can hear it. He's devoted his life to service, to building a stable, enduring monarchy. But now he feels like he's standing on the sidelines watching his son, and Diana's shadow claim the spotlight he once thought was his. The door opens softly and Camilla steps in. She wears a deep blue silk dress, but her face lacks its usual composure. She pauses before a large mirror on the wall, her eyes locked on her reflection. In that moment, she doesn't see the queen, the woman who fought for this position. She sees someone history is leaving behind. "The times have changed," Camilla says, her voice low and bitter, as if speaking to the mirror rather than Charles. "The public doesn't want us anymore, Charles. They want William and Kate. They want Diana even though she's long gone." Charles turns, his eyes filled with pain. "Don't say that, Camilla. I'm still the king. I still have a duty to this kingdom." Camilla faces him, a faint smile on her lips, tinged with sorrow. "Duty, Charles, duty isn't enough to hold the throne. The public doesn't care about duty. They care about emotion, about stories that make them cry. And William and Kate, they know how to tell those stories." Charles doesn't respond. He turns back to the crown, and in that moment, he feels it no longer belongs to him. It belongs to another era, another world, a world where he's no longer the center. At Kensington Palace, William and Kate sit in the small study where they announce the Diana Initiative. Light from a desk lamp casts a warm glow on their faces, creating a space both cozy and serious. On the table lies a letter from a group of children in Liverpool, thanking them for funding a counseling center. Kate reads it aloud, her voice soft but full of emotion. "Miss Kate, Mr. William, thank you for making us feel like we matter." William smiles, but it's tinged with fatigue. "We're doing the right thing, aren't we, Kate?" he asks, his eyes seeking her reassurance. "I don't want to defeat my father. I don't want to push Camilla aside. I just want the monarchy to be different." Kate sets the letter down, reaching for his hand. "We don't need to defeat anyone," she says, her voice firm, yet gentle. "We just need to do what your mother did, listen, act, and give people hope. That's how we change things." William nods, but a question lingers in his mind. Can they change the monarchy without destroying it? He thinks of his mother, of the days she faced the world alone, and wonders if he has the strength to carry her path forward. Outside in London's twilight, the Diana Initiative continues to spread like an unquenchable flame. Diana may be gone, but her presence lives on through William and Kate's actions, through the promises they've made to the people. Their footsteps, though quiet, have charted a new path, not one of crowns or power, but of compassion and change. And in the hearts of millions, that promise, stronger than ever, carries on like a song that never fades. Like, share, and subscribe to follow the gripping saga of the British royal family, and don't miss the next developments.